Dow is the world's largest chemical company, and we have about 180 sites worldwide. We are in the process of implementing Adept across our global enterprise. I'm Greg Schuler, and I am the General Manager for Engineering Information Management within Dow Engineering Solutions.
And my name is Chris Wood. I'm the Adept Support SME. My main role is to try and do everything I can to facilitate taking care of our users, work on getting the Adept system deployed, make sure it's operating properly, work on training, and do a large number of things that we want to do to bring the company forward.
Dow Chemical has probably upwards of 3 million or more documents around the world at these various sites that we had discovered were in at least 20 different document management systems. And many of these systems were either unsupported, homegrown, outdated, poor usability, etc. And this resulted in sometimes documents being misplaced, wrong documents being used, projects being delayed, and Dow had a Six Sigma process that recognized this issue and set us down a path to select a commercial document management system, and we ended up selecting Adept. We had a pretty systematic process that we went through to look at 8 different vendors. And we started off and developed a list of 85 very specific pieces of functionality that we needed to have. And we ranked these according to must-haves and like-to-haves, etc. And we went out in the marketplace and took a look at eight different applications, and then we did more detailed assessment of 4, and then we had an on-site proof of concept for 2, sort of like a install off, so to speak, okay? And what we found was one application actually took a few months to be deployed and functional, and Adept took 3 days, and I'm not exaggerating. That was really the case. We imported 100,000 records in just a short amount of time, and we were able to demonstrate the value of the system, and that was a key deciding factor in how we selected Adept.
We actually have 4 separate implementations of Adept. Each implementation is a global implementation with varying numbers of users. Within the implementations, we also have separate instances where we have both a development, a production test, and then an actual production system. The current implementations we have some which are ranging anywhere from 12 to 15,000 documents for a best practices implementation to one implementation which has over 1.5 million documents.
In all, I think our systems manage upwards of 1.5 million total documents. We're going to expand that to about 3 million documents by middle of next year, and we serve over about 4,000 named users. And in the end, we're approaching about 40,000 document views per month across all of our systems, and we're impacting thousands of people across Dow.
We're predominantly focused within the engineering services side of Dow, and our major focus is on maintaining and managing as-built documents, which are the engineering drawings for existing facilities. We want to make sure that when the engineering folks get ready to do some kind of modification, upgrade, enhancement, or lifetime extension program, they have access to the current version of documents that show how the existing plant is so they can make the correct modifications. We're also working on a capital projects version of Adept where we are using Adept as a mechanism to collaborate with our suppliers in terms of receiving documents that they might have designed, doing internal reviews, using workflow to evaluate the documents, mark them up, and then return them to the vendor for any kind of changes. And then we're preparing to, at the end of the planning and preparation phase of the engineering design, we're ready to hand these documents off to the issue for constructions, for the construction phase of projects.
We're really a virtual team of people, and I'm in Seattle and Chris is in Houston, and we have people in the different parts of Houston, different parts of Texas. We work with teams in India. We have representatives in Germany and in the Netherlands, and we all work very closely together to implement Adept, even though we're spread widely around the world. So it's a really good example of remote collaboration, I think it is, to make this happen. The very first implementation sort of represents the theme. We have far more work to do than what we have people to do it. And so we're able to go to places where people have significant pain, and it's more of a pull rather than a push. It's not a corporate push of software out. It's people saying, hey, can you help us with this specific problem? And so we're very lucky to have that. And so the first few places we went, they had an old VAC system or they had no system. And so it was a real easy sell to get those folks on board. And once we had them on board, then via word of mouth, it spread around, and we had more people coming out of the woodwork to ask us to go to their site and get their documents in the system. And so it has had a quite significant impact, but most of it has been via pull and word of mouth.
The company culture within Dow is a very process-oriented, organization, and folks are looking forward to understanding what the process is, what's expected of them, and then complying with it. And so as we introduce systems like this, they're actually, there's not pushback, they just understand that the process has changed. And for most of the time, we have the opportunity to show them how we're actually making it easier and more effective and more efficient for them to do their jobs. Yeah. So it's very well received.
That's really a good point, Chris. We have a hundreds of pages long process of how to do capital projects. And our objective is to get Adept, and we're making some progresses, is an integral component of those steps. And then from then on, it's relatively self-sustaining, as long as we can convince people there's value and get it as an official part of our processes.
First off, for our primary as-built system, whenever a new project or planned work is being developed, the engineers that need the documents have ready access to them. They don't have to go around searching. They don't have to worry about if what they discover is the latest version, if it's correct or not. So that's a big plus. For the capital project space, we're using the workflow, etc., to facilitate folks understanding what's on my plate. When documents come in from the vendor, they're receiving the notifications from Adept that this is now in their workspace and they need to do their review and approvals, etc. So it's really helping to facilitate that. In some cases, we were replacing file shares, and in that case, when documents were coming in, there was really a difficult time in terms of tracking them, finding out which documents were still pending review and approval, which were late to get back to the vendor. With Adept and some of the reporting that we're doing within Adept, we've automated a process where that information is readily visible to the project managers, and it's greatly enhancing the efficiency of them developing these projects.
So I've worked with many different software companies in the past. We have a much more intimate connection with the folks at Synergis than we've had at any other place I've worked, specifically in the development environment. And we feel that the Synergis development folks clearly want to know what we're interested in, and they actually listen to us, and we've seen a number of the features that we have requested specifically to come out in the product, okay? On the second side is the support desk, and I think I used the words in the past, really it's superior. I've never worked with an organization where we get the response time and the quality and the follow-up that we have gotten from Synergis. Did you want to add anything to that?
Yes, from my perspective, the experience of working with Synergis is absolutely fantastic. When I work with the service desk and with others in Synergis, I feel extremely welcome and like I'm truly valued, and it's almost, well, actually it's better than like being family. If you knew my family, you'd understand. But it's an absolute pleasure to work with the folks that we work with.
I think that statement is relatively representative of most of our experience with the company. I have to say that. There's many things in the development space and the response to things. For example, when we have come forward, periodically we might find some type of really significant bug or showstopper bug that impacts a majority of our users. And every time we have brought that type of thing forward, Synergis development organization and support has jumped up, and in some cases I think we had a patch in just a few days, right? And that's extremely important to us because we really, in the end, intend to delight our customers. And so overall, we've had very little downtime and very little problem with any of the software because of this type of response from Synergis.